Good morning. Hello. Hey, it's Maria here. I'm going to wait a minute as we get some people on our class. This is Maria Paith with Angelic Enlightenment. That's the name of my business here in Waverly, Iowa. And I am coming to you live this morning. I have hopes that you will be able to join me. It says I have to admit people in. Good morning, Katie. It's looking like I have to admit people in. I don't know that I've had to do this before, so I may have to be a little more active here and letting people into the meeting. Anyways, good morning, Katie. You're the first one to join us here. Join me. So let me give a few more minutes for others that may be coming in. Again, this is Maria Paith, and my office is here in Waverly, Iowa. It is a beautiful day, sunny day, but very cold day today. The weather was registering like a wind chill of 7 below this morning here in Iowa, so a little bit chilly. And this is the very first meeting of the year, and we do have a new link for people to connect with. I'm hoping that people can find their way here. So I'm going to delay just a little bit as we, I guess, what do we call this? I'm going to stall a little bit as we let other people come in. It also looked like I needed to admit people into the meeting. And I don't know, that's something I haven't had to do before. So a couple things that I know that I'm going to cover today. I'm just going to double check my notes here. I was the power of prayer and prayer for the world. The idea of death, soul connections, and awakenings. And also doing a little bit of a forecast for the coming year. So we'll be doing that live. Yep, see, I have to admit people into this waiting room. This is new that I haven't had to do before. So I don't know if that's a new concept that they have going, but I'm admitting people into the waiting room. So I'm going to pause the recording here a minute. All right, good morning. This is Maria Paith at Maria's Angelic Enlightenment in Waverly, Iowa. We are going to be talking this morning about praying for the world, touching a little bit on death, soul connections, and awakening, and then having a forecast for the coming year using angel card deck. I am grateful for your presence today and ask that you join me in prayer as we begin this session. So let's take a deep breath together. Beautiful Lord, sweet angels, Holy Spirit, my guides and angels, and all those that have gathered for this session and also will later listen to the recording. We ask that you support us, guide us. We ask that you will fill us, that the angels are present for each one of us, guiding and supporting, protecting, and inspiring us, for we are human vessels, divinely created in the light of the Lord's essence. And our goals and our missions to be accomplished are many. We pray that we are awakened, aware, again inspired, and guided in the directions of our heart and in all that we are, today and always. And in your name, we are ever grateful. Amen. All right. Thank you for joining me. I am going to be talking again this morning, praying for the world. So we have had some very interesting worldly events that have, been transpiring. The one that is most distressful, I thought, was, is the fires that have been going on in Australia, and I was reminded when I was thinking about the Australian condition, about the power of prayer and some of the work that has been done by an author named Lynn McTaggart. And I did speak about this a few sacred sessions ago, but Lynn McTaggart did some experimenting, and then through, as we would say, her work, discovered that there's a power, to the number of people praying. And she, found that a group of 8 can be a very, very powerful number. And they did, through her work and in her book, she documents like hundreds of cases where they have the power of prayer supported the healings of people with ailments such as arthritis, cataracts, MS, scoliosis, depression, to name a few. And, she accessed or gave credit to the idea of, the quantum field. And this idea has been really taught by many different people. And it sounds like, quantum, it sounds, huge, but it's really quite simple. It's really the idea of our ability to love, and tapping into the quantum is that vibration of love, which is higher than the vibration typically of, let's say, a person who's just, in the moment feeling complacent. When we add the love, when you actually are tapping into the vibration of love, you amplify energy, and you also become a little more much more of a manifester, much more connected to the higher quantum field. And that field is about vibration of love. That field is a non-seeing, but yet feeling, palpable energy. And the Heart Math Institute, which again I have mentioned quite often, has been doing research on this idea of the heart, and also Dr. Joe Dispenza's work has been over and over again layering on top of what Heart Math Institute has discovered, and that the heart sends the message to the brain to act. That most of our time, when we come from, again, the idea of love, that we can influence the way that we think, the way that a group of people around us think, and that 8 people, going back to Lynn McTaggart's work, 8 people connecting together, collaborating together, can begin to affect the healing of others. One person can affect the healing of another, especially if you are a mother, a father, a child, the spouse, of a loved one, and we can affect that person. But sometimes we need a group to be more, to manifest quicker, to support, to be more effective, to amplify the experience when we're talking about earthly prayerfulness, and to send earth prayer, to send the world prayer, to send prayer in the name of peace out into the world, as opposed to any kind of conflict. To remind our leaders that are in a place of making decisions about such things as potential war, or such things as peace, to be influenced by our heart, to be influenced by our love. So I'm calling this morning this information back because in our consciousness we need to know that healing begins in the mind, says the Course in Miracles, but the Heart Math Institute is sharing that the heart actually controls the mind. And I think about many decisions that we make. We do make those decisions like thinking in our mind. I mean, I feel my energy going to my head, but often the the emotion of that decision is bred in the heart. And when we're in a loving vibration, we send love, amplify love, manifest love, create love, and then love begins to infiltrate, the others, and the vibration does catch on. The vibration does expand. The vibration is contagious. And again, going back to Heart Math Institute, a couple of notes. Again, the neurological perception, the heart has 40,000 sensory neurons or more. And it does have a magnetic field of several feet. Positive emotions boost our brain and we make better decisions when we have positive emotions. It has been proven that babies in utero, why am I having so much trouble here? In utero, brain waves can synchronize and do synchronize with their mothers. Brain waves and heart waves. So the actual heart, this was like studies that were done in 1991 by a doctor named Dr. J. Andrew, that they were able to sync mother's heart and brain waves and with the baby's heart and brain waves, and so in utero. And then that's, again, the effect of one life upon the other. We know that positive music can influence our plants. We know there's been experiments done with that, where harsh sounds, have influenced, plants, and they haven't thrived. Where more, loving music or joyful music, or I guess we'd say more beauty in that music, can influence the life of the cells in the plant, and they exhibit through the way that they are, developing then, and as we do as well. So the power of 8 is the work that Lynn McTaggart speaks of, and I'm just saying, let's 8 of us, connect. And we don't have to connect, in any other way but in this format, and really intentionally send regular prayers of healing for Australia. I believe there's been lots more rain that has fallen over that part of the world, and that some of the fires are quelling. But it was distressful to see that, because it was. They said something about the multitude of destruction was so much more than even our own California fires have experienced in the last couple of years. And, that continent is smaller than the United States, and many of their, bush fires have engulfed their country. So we want to send additional love. And so I'm thinking, like, if you have anytime you think of it, just, intentionally send, rain and the idea of calming and soothing the Australian continent, and bringing healing to that Australian continent. Anytime you think of that, amplifying that with the love in your heart, seeing Australia in your heart, surrounded by, we would say, moisture and nourishment and love and the miracle of healing. And so for that part of the world. And then the other part of the world is, again, let's pray for peace. Anytime you think of it, when you are feeling a little bit anxious and you need peace, think peace in myself and think peace for the world. When you are meditating with an intention of peace for the world, peace for those in charge, those that leading our country, and the countries that may believe that they're in conflict with us, peace for those that feel wrongly, viewed and need to not justify or rectify anything, but simply come to a place of peace and calm. So I encourage that. That's on a regular basis. I think that any little bit can help. And if you do have a group of 8 beautiful souls, that of that you're going to be getting together before you all go out and have an adult beverage, or before you go into church, before you are stepping into that next party. Just hold an intention together of peace in our world, peace for the world. And the more we do that, the more often we are projecting that, and that vibration again will amplify. It's been proven it can happen. And if the vibration of one soul to another, can shift an emotion in time and space, we can heal the world one person at a time. Many light workers now inhabit the world. There are, more than 1 billion of us these days, and we are too big a force to turn back to any kind of negativity or any kind of world war. We are turning to peace, and that is the intention. I do want to dedicate the next few moments to the idea of grief, and don't wait to let it out is a beautiful piece here from this book called How to Heal a Grieving Heart. And this is really more of a gift, book that I gifted myself with several years ago when my father passed away. And, yesterday morning at early in the morning, my mother-in-law, and I really like to call her my mother-in-love. My mother-in-love passed away, and she had a beautiful life. She's 87 years old, and I have numerous memories with my 40 years of being her, we would say her daughter-in-law, and she and I had a special bond in many, many ways. I had the opportunity to help care for her in her last in the struggle that she's had this last month. In most of December, I had the opportunity to be an active caregiver for her, and it was beautiful in that respect. And then all of the experiences and the journeys that we've had together, and just being married to her beautiful son, all of this is magical. And so I am really grateful for her life, and grateful that I can share with you this little piece that speaks to me really quite loudly. Don't wait to grieve. Let it out. It's very important for your future well-being to allow yourself to grieve immediately when your loss is fresh. But do not try to rush through it either. Let it flow. Move through at your own pace. You should never be worried what others might think of you crying or being upset. This is none of your concern. And grieving is an extremely personal and healthy experience. Amen to that. I have been praying on and off for about a month when I saw that the end was near for my mother-in-law. I have also, smiled and been in gratitude for her release of her soul to the heavens. And I know that I have already received genuine messages from her, and I'm so grateful. I actually was dreaming of her when I got the call about her having transitioned. And so I was dreaming of her because it was 4 in the morning when I got the call. And I was like, I said, oh, I can hear this other sound, and the phone is next to my bed because in the last month I've been sleeping with it next to my bed to be on call for her as she needed it, because she was at that time in a care center. And so I answered the phone, and then they gave me the news, and I understood that she, had actually been right there with me, helping me to receive the message. And that feeling was very warm and also as sad as I was in the moment and how emotional that moment was for me, I also felt a sense of relief. And so I'm grateful for that connection. I'm grateful for that message. Everyone grieves in their own way. My husband, on the other hand, as I was sharing with him, honey, your mother just passed away, and he just wanted to be in quiet. He just wanted to hold my hand. And he burst out, in tears. And that was, it was his moment. And a little bit later, when we're on our way, it was a very short time actually. We got dressed quickly to go to her. I said, I had a dream about her, and he said, I don't want to hear this right now. And so that was him. That I felt the sense of relief, and he didn't want to have anything but quiet. He just wanted to kind of be in his own space, and that's important. That everybody grieves in their own way. Everybody sees the situation. Everybody sees and feels, about a death in a very special way, and there no judgment ever is necessary. And I like how James von Prague expressed in this book that you should never worry what others might think of you crying or being upset. This is none of your concern. And it's like, right, grieving is a personal thing. What do we need to have someone else in our head about? I also chose to work yesterday because my work is very healing for me. And I felt, a sense of gratitude, and the people that, actually were, were lined up for the day. It was, kind of magical from the first to the last. That they were, people that I needed to work with yesterday. So I felt like the day was orchestrated, and as I went with the flow, that I was blessed to have such an orchestrated day. Today is more of a day of reflection for me, and but I am expressing, how I am dealing with this grief, and I've been crying for a month, and so I don't have quite the tears, because now I do feel joy. And again, that is very personal to me. And having worked with people on a regular basis that grieve, I know the relief that they receive when they have gotten a message or two, or some kind of connection or symbol in the world that has shown them that their loved one is all right. And I experienced that almost immediately, and will continue to look for signs for my beautiful mother in love, Elaine. So thank you for listening to that, but also I wanted to share, death and soul connections. And so let's go to those soul connections. And this is kind of like a little bit of a review that I have mentioned before. But soul connections and soul recognitions are very, very powerful. Soul recognitions, there are love stories that are based in soul recognition. There are missions that are based in soul recognitions. There are soul accomplishments that are based in soul recognition. And the idea of soul recognition is that it may happen you may be connected to someone that come together for, again, I've said this many times, a moment, a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year, many years, or eternity. The soul recognition is like that moment where maybe you connect with somebody eye to eye, and you know something, they know something, and you were supposed to have that moment. And maybe you don't ever speak to that person, but you saw them and they saw you, and they're eye to eye for that moment, and like it stops you. And there is a soul connection there. There is an emotional exchange of some kind. And in the quantum field, which is where we started today, which is very simply the emotional field, the fabric of emotion from one human to another human, expanded in the vibrational field that we cannot see, that quantum field, the magic happens. So if that was a second or a minute, that magic is about you being aware that you were supposed to see that person, and perhaps they triggered a memory in you. Perhaps that moment triggered an emotion in you, a purpose in you, a sense of mission in you, and it stays with you. It's like, I know that person, or I've seen them before, or I understand, or, what was that about? Or maybe you don't even pay attention to it. So then subconsciously it's brought to you. But we do assign souls, other people, guides, and angels to remind us of our mission, to remind us of our purpose, to remind us of the greater reason why we're here on earth. And I want to say that primarily we are here on earth to grow and to love. Love being the first piece. So for a moment, if you connect eye to eye with another human, you've already exchanged that love and you've amplified it in them and in you. And they may have been an angel manifesting on earth for just a second so that you could remember something about yourself, or they could stop you for that second so you could maybe redirect a particular way that you were going, so that perhaps for that moment you were able to receive the message of the why. Soul recognition is one of those magical things that happen for us when we are aligning with our purpose, our mission, and our direction. And when we have those experiences, we remember. They can also happen in very devastating ways, where we have a breakup in a relationship, and that person was a soul in our life for 30 years, for 30 months, for 30 seconds, probably not with a relationship, but that person was, and then there's this breakup and we don't understand it. But it's supposed to be, because it helps us to realign with our purpose. Maybe we were, not supposed to move to be with them. Maybe we were not in the same, alignment at the time. Maybe we needed to experience that heartache, because in the future we're going to be helping people with heartache in that area. Perhaps it was, a direction or a choice they made to, to really be going in another direction in the way that they think, the way that they feel, the way that they believe, the way that they see the world. And, you were only supposed to pass with them for a short time, but breakups can be very emotionally draining, especially the longer time that you've been, together with somebody, and the time that you had really, been in this place of love. But what I have learned is that, a soul recognition, sometimes, that the lesson is more important than the eternity of being connected to that person for, ever. Some people have had relationships with their parents that were very good for quite a while, and then turned sour because something shifted or something happened, or feelings were hurt and people don't heal. Now that, the idea of forgiveness and healing is a whole nother chapter. But when we're talking about soul recognition, again, sometimes we are birthed into a family just to understand the hardship or the magnificence of it. And then when we experience the contrast, that contrast begins to teach us. And they are game points that we have chosen in this matrix of life, this matrix of the now, this matrix of this current time. We have chosen our soul recognitions. We have chosen our divine connections. We have chosen so many things. And we could get mad at ourselves and we can get angry at whoever did us the wrong. But the truth is that it's better. The awakened being says, what's my lesson? And the quicker you learn how to redirect anything that happens to you that seems tragic, including death, including a breakup, including the loss of a job, including a situation where you didn't get that job, or you didn't go and that person didn't love you, and this situation over here, you know, like that individual was rude to you, and you lost you know, a parking place, and that person cut into, you know, you today, and the subway, you know, decided to, you know, change direction or stop working. All those things, the quicker we go, okay, flow, stop. I don't have to go into tragedy here. I don't have to go into woe is me here. I don't have to go into, oh, I'm so sad here. But why is this happening? And take the time to like just breathe. Why is this happening? What am I learning? And what am I capable of here? What is this reminding me of? The tragic loss of a parent to a child when they are young, it is tragic. And sometimes our children are brilliant at understanding this idea, you know, like of an individual soul leaving and them going, you know, to heaven, now being in the arms of the Lord, but they will no longer be with us. And they understand that, and sometimes, you know, for some reason they feel extremely sorry for themselves forever, and like, but I didn't have a mother, but I didn't have a mother, but I didn't have a mother, or the opposite, I didn't have a father. It's like, oh, my mother hated me. She lived, but she hated me. She didn't care for me. I never had a relationship with her. It's like, once you become to this idea of awakening, is like things happen for us. Things happen for us. And why are they happening? What is the soul recognition? What does my soul need to remember and required to remember at this time? And it really is a little more like a little bit of an ego trip here. Why is this happening to me? That's the ego. Why is this happening for me? That's the soul. Happening for me. So let me go back to this place. As I just mentioned, my mother-in-law passed away. And my mother-in-law passed away yesterday morning. And I had the most vivid impression of her before I got the call. And that was magical. And then all day yesterday, I worked. And I did my work that I love. And that work felt amplified to me. And impressions were more vivid than they have been. I went with the flow. I allowed, why is this happening for me? Well, here's another angel amplifying my abilities. Does it sound egotistic? Yes. Am I sad as hell? Yes. Am I grieving? Absolutely. But why is this happening for me? I know that her soul was born into this, into eternity, returned into the arms of the Lord, met by her family that has already transitioned, and all those friends that she has, and also honored here on earth for that. Happening for me, to remember that only love is real, and that is going to stay with me forever. To remember that love is eternal, and that I will love this woman in eternity. I will love this soul in eternity, and that her soul is so much more than that person that I knew for 40 years here on this earth. Forever. The soul recognition, she was with me for 40 years, and that soul recognition taught me love. And one of the most important things that she said to me quite often, when she thought maybe that I was a little bit frustrated with the situation or with her son, she would say, now, Maria, honey goes a lot further than vinegar. And she's probably told me that 20 years, 25, 30 years ago. And I never forgot that because I watched her use her honey when there was trouble or situation or something seemed kind of in distress. She would bring love into the situation with sweet words and diplomacy and a sense of honor, and kind of take a step back and not force. Um, and this was her beautiful way, which I absolutely love. But I see that like honey now as like as golden energy, just surrounding a situation. And I think about honey going so much further when we think about anything that we do. The idea of bringing peace to the world. Let's pray on the world. Let's bring peace. Let's surround it with honey. Sweetness, instead of vim and vigor, or calling people names, or subjecting some of our judgment on that. Soul recognition. So was my beautiful mother in love in my life to bring that one message of honey goes further than vinegar. It impacted my life. From the time that she told me that, forever I kind of bit my tongue a little bit more often, because I do have a tendency to come out very honestly and somewhat direct sometimes, and that helped me to redirect some of my sharpness and the edge, and soften the edge, so that when I say something, it's not quite delivered with the rashness that it could have come out with. Important for me to remember, because then my message is heard more clearly. It is carried with a honey. The more people want to hear it, they want to have it, instead of it being a little bit spiced with vinegar. Vinegar is very, good for the body, actually. Apple cider vinegar with a little bit of water in the morning can really be a good cleanser for us. But the cleansing doesn't have to happen with, acid. The cleansing can happen with honey, because honey is also a very good cleanser. In nature, honey can clean as well. We think about putting honey on, on wounds, and also the antibacterial nature of honey, the allergy treatment that can happen with a little bit of honey in our hot water, and how that can support allergy effects. There's so many euphemisms here, or even connections, but the soul recognition, I think about that person being in my life, right? Soul recognition of, again, one moment. How many of us have had that when you've seen someone for a moment and you remember something, you see eye to eye. And then this is, one moment, remembering of the mission. So I'm in Las Vegas, which is an easy place to see, people on a regular basis that are kind of famous, because they go and they do shows and that kind of thing. And I've had two really interesting encounters with what I consider to be very, famous people. One was like George Foreman was walking through, perhaps it was Caesar's Palace. Actually, I think it was Caesar's Palace, and wasn't like in the middle of all the casinos and all the machines. It was kind of like a back space. And I could see, him coming. My husband was, there with me, and our eyes locked eye to eye. And I said, "Good morning, Mr. Foreman." And he said, "Good morning." And, then we both continued, forward. And my husband goes, "Well, that was interesting." And I go, "Yes, it was, wasn't it?" And I said, "You know what? I feel really good. Like he's in a really good place. That's, that man has, some good things going for him." And he's like, "Well," my husband, of course, is like, "What, from saying hi, you felt all that, and, I said, "Yes, I did. Don't you get feelings when you say hi to people?" And he was like, "I guess I don't think about it, And I remember this because it the feeling of empowerment kind of grew with me the rest of that day, and continued, to grow with me. And then later on, I looked a little bit more into George Foreman's, life, and saw that he had 5 sons. He called them all George Foreman. And I thought that was interesting. The number 5 also being a number of change, but the feeling of empowerment, of course, he had to do that his whole life. In terms of the way that he led his career, his fighting career, his as a powerful boxer. And but I felt the empowerment in that moment. And was that a soul recognition? I think it was, because what did it do for me? It helped me to feel empowered that day. It helped me to have a little conversation with my husband about, we do get impressions just passing with people, and that is powerful. And what are we giving off on a regular basis? What are we sharing with people on a regular basis? To talk about what are we giving off, I think about my sweet little niece when she was young, about 4, and she said, when Sarita comes to visit me, that's my nickname, my family nickname, when Sarita comes to visit me, I feel like, and I thought, oh, that was cute. And then she talked about another aunt. She goes, when this other aunt comes to visit me, I feel like, and I'm like, what's that? And she goes, we got to go. And I was like, okay, so she told me in her 4-year-old tender wisdom that, I was projecting some love and on a regular basis. And again, this is a soul recognition, a time of knowing where it's like, okay, keep this up, because I like that I'm that I am illuminating with love. I like the idea of expanding my field regularly. And I work on that idea of more love, putting more love out there for others and also for myself. And this is a meditative, an active meditation that you can do, is put more love out there on a regular basis, just feeling the love here and then sending that love out. I think too about, like, in that morning, why did George Foreman look at me and not my husband? Now, he's a man, and perhaps he, was looking for the cute ladies. I better take a drink of water. Who knows? There was really only myself and my husband and a few, odds and ends people around, because we were walking, in an area that wasn't very populated. So, I didn't say anything until our eyes locked. And I did not intend to or think, like, oh, I'm going to say something. It just came out, and it came out so much, good morning, Mr. Foreman. Hello, Mr. Foreman. And it was just interesting to me. But again, left me with that feeling of empowerment. And that is, I believe, his energy, that, he had learned to empower himself. And in his fighting, boxing career, had much success, and empowerment was my lesson, that day. Another Las Vegas experience was when I was very early on. My husband and I went to Las Vegas for one of our one of our anniversaries, and went to another show. Well, it was a show, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not supposed to tell this one, because all of a sudden I can't think of the comedian's name, female. Oh my goodness. She's completely slipped my mind. I can't even think of her name right now. That's horrible. Anyways, a comedy act that this, woman was doing. And we just happened to get placed. This was back in the day when you could tip and get, closer in. Now they have you pay to get closer in, not the maitre d', but you actually have to pay the ticket to get closer in. But, my, a friend that was with us, gave the maitre d', I think, a $50 bill, and we got sat right in the front. very front. And, and that day I had kind of like a more flamboyant jacket on. It was kind of gold, and here's this comedian talking about, like first marriage and second marriage, and the way that, women might dress. And then, she said, and then there's the hookers. And she looks at me, points at me as I'm sitting in the front there, and she goes, see, they dress like this in gold. Because I had a gold jacket on. Today I have silver. I had a gold jacket on, and, and I'm like, ah! And says, says, how you doing, hooker? And she goes, I bet you're, and she talks about like my breast size. Something like this, and it just made everybody laugh. My husband's like under the table trying to hide. But what was interesting was, at the end of that performance, she had 4 plants on the stage. And she brought, one out to each of the women that she had picked on, and of course there was one that was colored, that was yellow, and then the others were white, and I got the yellow one. Plant, so that I could walk through the casino with this plant and everybody know I was the hooker. So that soul recognition. Why is this happening for me? I can laugh at this today. I laughed at it then. I had fun with it. I had no problem being called a hooker because I'm nothing close to the hooker, but part of us are a hooker. We do sell ourselves. We do prostitute ourselves sometimes to the nth degree. And that is an archetype. And, I spend some time with that archetype because, at that moment, that beautiful comedian, and I just cannot think of her name. I mean, goodness sakes, it is not, the name is not coming to me, but she gave me flowers. And of course I took these flowers because, and my husband says, you're not walking through the casino with this. I go, yes, I am. And of course people that have been in the show are like, oh, there's the hooker. There's the hooker. It was all good. You have to know yourself, right? And I felt again that the comedy. Why is this happening for me? A soul recognition. What is it happening for me? These are interesting stories. There are many soul recognitions, some really, really deep ones. But just to wrap up, I want to say that it could be someone famous that you have a soul recognition with. We come together for a moment, a project, a lifetime. We are children of God, and we have purpose, and we come together for a mission. We also come one by one, and we need to recognize the mission within ourselves. And often what can be happening in that 1 second or that 30 years or that 50 years or that lifetime is that you remember yourself, you recall yourself, and you can laugh about yourself, you can honor yourself, you can sense yourself, you can be aware. I felt like that awareness was, there for like the George Foreman second. I have, friends here on this friends and beautiful university members and people that I love that are here this morning listening, to this and connected to this, that I have had soul recognitions with. And I know why you're in my life. I know why I know you. I know why, I've connected with you. And I hope you know why I and you and I have connected in your reciprocal way, and that you can find peace in your heart and also remembrance. I believe that, I am a teacher and a spiritual teacher at this time in my life, and the spiritual concepts and ideas are something that I just have such a passion with that I cannot be stopped or stuffed. You cannot stuff that. But I had to go through growing up. I had to laugh at myself. I had to have tragedy. I had to have challenges. I have to have a multitude of, of experiences so that I can be real with you when I teach, that I feel and experience and also can project those dynamics of energy. That I feel like blocks release with every challenge that I've ever had, and that helps me to expand my love circle. And I don't want to brag, but when we were in Sedona last time for the Awakening Goddess retreat, this person that was working with the rods, and she like had was measuring our aura, and my aura was really big that day. I was excited, like the rods went like way back, several, I don't know, it was more than 10 feet. And I was like, oh, maybe this work is working, that I'm expanding my energy on a regular basis and sending love and sending love and sending love. Yeah, there's times when I have to contract it and reserve it for myself, but most of the time I am sending love out into the universe, sending peace, sending hope, sending a sense of healing out to other people, because I'm passionate about it, and I'm sure that we are here to expand that one person can affect millions of people. And we have one song. Think about the millions of people that like watch the Super Bowl and, watch the halftime show, and that like those impressions that people get from that, even like the who wins and who doesn't win, and the feelings that people get, it can be instantaneous. And with media and the way that we are connecting these days, you can have an effect on people miles and miles away. It's just about sharing that love and having them feel that hug. Soul recognition is reminding you, you are a factor of love, a factory of love, and you are in fact love. And so it's been wonderful to be with you this morning. I was going to do a forecast, right? Here's my forecast for the year, because I've got 3 minutes. So using angel deck, 2 angel decks, and these are my favorite angel decks from During Virtue. I have new angel decks from Angela Hartfield that are different whisper decks, and oh, they're magical, but they're not in my office yet. First one, gifts from God. This year is about receiving gifts. I'm just picking these as they come. God, angels are talking to me. Gifts from God. And this card specifically is Archangel Sandalphon saying, we angels bring you gifts from your Creator. Open your arms to receive. This year, you better open up your arms to receive the gifts from God, ladies and gentlemen. This is an important time to receive gifts. And if you are burying your gifts and you're not focusing on your gifts, shame on you. Come on, join the crew. Let your gifts shine. Don't hide them. Who cares if somebody else thinks you're crazy? It's not their gift. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Okay, next message. We'll do 4 of them. Next message. Take back your power. Oh, I love this card. Take back your power. Archangel Raziel says, use your God-given power and intention to manifest blessings in your life. This year, take back your power. It's about you. Manifest blessings. Your God-given power. Doesn't that connect with gifts? Oh my goodness. Your gifts, your power, be somebody, do something, be an influence in the world, and love, 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 love. Okay, I'm not going to sing for you because that's not one of my gifts. Okay, next one. Sensitivity. Okay, a little more, a little softer, a little sweeter sensitivity. And Archangel Haniel says, you are extra sensitive to energies and emotions right now. And I would think that even this year, because that's part of awakening gifts, aren't they? Honor yourself and your feelings. It all works so well hand in hand. Angels are magical. When you're working on your gifts, taking back your power, acknowledging your truth, emotions, you can really do wonders. And the last card for the forecast for this year, this is a good year. We are really good. Oh, this one right here. Okay, different deck. Patience. Oh, darn. We got to be patient with ourselves and with everybody else and with the process, right? Now it's time to learn, study, and gather information. Enjoy being a student, because in the future you will synthesize your knowledge into action. Again, angels are so magical. So magical. I just love this, right? They told us we have to honor our gifts. They told us to take back our power. They told us to be sensitive with ourselves, honor ourselves, and then they said, but be patient too, because in the future you will synthesize your knowledge, your power, and into action. And that's key, is that there will be action, but we do want to be patient. So thank you so much, beautiful, beautiful Angelic University ladies and gentlemen, for being here. It's really nice because I like to be able to talk to someone. I did change the format. I am not going to be posting every class on YouTube, just a few of them. I'm going to do something a little different with YouTube, but I do want you to subscribe to my YouTube. It is Maria Paith. That's my channel on YouTube. And then my podcast, which comes out every week, except for the 31st. They did not post then. But for January, this week, the 8th, I guess the first I didn't post, the 8th, there is one coming out in just a few minutes at 10 a.m. Central Time on Angelic. It's Angelic University with Maria Paith on Spotify or Anchor if you want. I'm going to post a direct link to Anchor in my in Angelic University, but I'm making this more exclusive to our Angelic University members again, and it feels good to do that. Anyways, I am so grateful for all of you and this time together, and thank you for being on this morning. Let's say a little prayer. Beautiful Lord, sweet angels, Holy Spirit, thank you for this time. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for this coming year. Thank you for healing the earth and bringing peace. I imagine and feel and ask that all of your angels will surround the earth, many, many, many billions and billions and trillions of angels surrounding the earth and bringing and showering peace on her, on all of her people, on our leaders in this world, and in the space of her magma, that she is healed and reborn and balanced. That emotions and relationships among countries and among nations will be blessed, and they'll remember their oneness. In your name, Lord, we pray for rain for Australia to heal her and restore her forests and her bush lands. And we ask for there to be much healing of all that have lost their life. I thank you for this time. I thank you for being with me. And oh, beautiful Anna just came on. I'm sorry, she's from Canada. I'm just finishing this session, Anna. We actually started an hour early. I'm not an hour early. In Central Time, USA, I start at 9 a.m. And I'm assuming that maybe your time is just a little bit different. But hello, good to see you here today, Anna. I'm sorry that we missed you. I'm going to stop the recording, but if anybody has a question, we can hear you there. Have a good day, everybody.